Chapter 28 The Kingdoms of Spain and Portugal. Ferdinand and Isabella unite Spain. Now let's leave England and travel back over into Europe. Go across the English Channel, the water on England's southern side. Remember that south is down on your map. You'll find yourself in France, the country that fought with England in the 100 Years' War. Now go southwest, down and to the left, and you'll cross over into another powerful country, Spain. We've already read about the reconquest of Spain, when the Christian kingdoms of Spain conquered the land that had been ruled by Muslims for hundreds of years. The reconquest was carried out by small, divided Christian kingdoms all over Spain. But as time went on, these small kingdoms joined together. Two large and powerful kingdoms called Aragon and Castile grew to cover most of Spain. A third smaller kingdom, Portugal, lay on the western coast of Spain. The king of Castile, Enrique, was a young man with big ambitions. He wanted to make Castile into the greatest kingdom of Spain. But to do this, he needed more soldiers for his army. So he promised one of his noblemen, a famous fighter named Pedro Girón, his sister Isabella in marriage, in exchange for plenty of soldiers who would make Enrique's army stronger. Pedro Girón was delighted by this offer. He could become the king's brother-in-law by marrying the Castilian princess, but Isabella was horrified. She was only 13 years old. Pedro Girón was over 40, and he was a scoundrel with a reputation for drinking, quarreling, and killing. She begged her brother to call off the marriage, but he refused. A great wedding feast was planned. Soon the castle was full of cooking, sewing, and baking, but Isabella went weeping in her room, praying that something would prevent this horrible marriage. Pedro Girón set out for his wedding in a fine mood, boasting about his great match. But on the journey he began to feel sick. Before he could reach Isabella's castle, he died of stomach pains. Isabella was filled with joy and relief, but her relief didn't last long. 4 years later, her brother decided that she should marry the King of Portugal, so that Portugal and Castile could be united into one stronger kingdom. The King of Portugal was a fat, wheezing man, old enough to be Isabella's father. Once again, Isabella begged her brother to change his mind, but once again he refused. "You'll marry the King of Portugal whether you like it or not," he told her. So Isabella sent a secret message to Ferdinand, the young prince of the King of Aragon. She had never met Ferdinand, but he was just her own age, and she had heard that he was handsome, courteous, and gentlemanlike. "My brother is determined to make a great match for me," she wrote to him. "I won't marry the King of Portugal, but you are as good a match as that old man. Meet me at a secret place in Castile, and decide whether you will marry me instead." Ferdinand agreed, but he didn't want Enrique to know that he was coming to Castile, so he collected 6 of his knights together and told them to dress up like merchants in a trading caravan. Ferdinand put on rags and pretended to be their servant and donkey tender. Meanwhile, Isabella crept out of her room in the middle of the night, stole a horse from her brother's stables, and galloped away on horseback. When the two met at the secret rendezvous, they talked for 2 hours and decided to get married right away. 4 days later, they were husband and wife. Isabella's brother Enrique was furious, but when he died 6 years later, Isabella became the Queen of Castile, and when Ferdinand inherited the throne of Aragon, Isabella and Ferdinand combined their 2 kingdoms together into one large kingdom of Spain. Ferdinand and Isabella decided that they would finish the job of unifying Spain by conquering the very last bit of Spain still under Muslim rule. This last Muslim stronghold was a small, mountainous southern kingdom named Granada, where a Muslim king ruled over his subjects from a castle called Alhambra. For 10 years, Ferdinand and Isabella battered away at Granada. Ferdinand himself led the army into battle. Isabella traveled all around Castile on horseback, begging the men of Spain to join the army and fight. Finally, in 1491, the Spanish armies were victorious. The Muslim king of Granada surrendered the castle of Alhambra and fled. According to legend, he turned around as he trudged out of Granada and sighed over the last view of his lost kingdom. But his mother, who was walking along behind him, and who was very angry over losing her home, snapped, "Don't weep like a woman over what you couldn't defend like a man." The place where the king stopped to sigh is still called the last sigh of the Moor. Now that Granada was theirs, Ferdinand and Isabella declared all of Spain to be a Christian kingdom. They made it illegal to practice any other religion in Spain. The Jews who lived in Spain were forced to leave, and almost every Spanish village had Jewish families in it. They sold their homes, often for mere pennies, and set out from Spain in overcrowded ships. Many died in the long, dangerous journey out of Spain. Although Ferdinand and Isabella were good rulers in many ways, they are also remembered for this unjust act. They brought all of Spain together into one country, but they also forced the Jews in Spain to leave their homes forever.